I think when you look at what's happening in the world, there's going to have to be a level of re-industrialization in America. We're going to have to actually start making more things in this country again. The cost of transportation from abroad, other factors are going to require that we do it. Connecticut led the industrialization of America. We could, if we play our cards right, play a role in the re-industrialization of America. My approach is, when it comes to energy, is we have to understand the very direct association of the cost of energy and jobs in Connecticut. And stop thinking of a DPUC as simply regulating and think of it as being a champion for less expensive energy.
I'm interested how you would contain electric utility costs. And not only am I an employee, I'm also a shareholder and most importantly a ratepayer.
Let's remember that the utility you work for is a delivery utility. It's not an energy generating utility anymore. The problem with deregulation in Connecticut, by my view, and now you're going to be mad at me because I'm
not going to be mad. I'm probably going to agree with you.
Because I'm going to point some fingers at your employer. They went to sleep for a period of time, particularly in upgrading delivery systems, particularly in my part of the state. Now, reality is we're doing a pretty good job on the energy side right now, but for 5 years in a row, I had manholes exploding in the summer months in Stamford. Very dangerous. We had fires. We had businesses that were without power for up to 5 days. That sort of thing. There was a failure to modernize. And one of the things I had to do as mayor was say, listen, this happens again, I'm suing you, and I'm gonna collect the people who are being adversely impacted every year, and we're going to sue you on a mass basis. Since I became mayor, the two largest trading floors in North America for commodities, for stocks, for bonds, for currency are located in Stamford, Connecticut. UBS and RBS. And when you have to look at an executive in the face and say, what am I going to do to secure your generation capacity, right? Or no, excuse me, your energy consistency, what am I going to do? I'm going to yell and scream at my delivery system, which is Northeast Utilities in my area. I'm going to allow them to build on-site whatever backup generating facilities we need to build on a call-on basis, not that they're generating. And we also did one final thing, which I haven't talked about here when it comes to energy. We championed for 4 years with the legislature and eventually got passed a regulation that allows corporations to group together and form their own grid and to then decide who they're going to buy their electric from on a mini-grid basis. And that's something that didn't exist in this state until 2 years ago. And probably when we put fuel cell technology in the Stamford Government Center, which is a 10-story building, and we share some of that excess energy off hours with a housing project that the Stamford Housing Authority runs, it'll be the first real use of that new legislation, which I championed. We also have a state that then went to sleep on the modernizing, encouraging, even participating, or even funding to some degree the modernization of generation facilities. Those are the, where coal is burned, or oil is burned, or natural gas is burned, or our biofuels are consumed, hopefully gasified because it's a cleaner way to do it. And that wasn't pushed. And we clearly had a DPUC who didn't see that as part of their mission. And I think there is an appropriate role for the state to play in making sure that generation comes online in a timely fashion, particularly when we had these very sharp curves indicating a relatively rapid increase in the need for capacity. So one of the things I did as mayor is I championed a peaking plant in Stamford. Because most mayors, you might think, would oppose that sort of stuff. Peaking plant means a small plant that would come online at certain times to generate excess capacity during very cold weather or very hot weather, generally speaking. We have one of the best sewage treatment plants in America. We just finished a $120 million upgrade. We have a 24 million gallon capacity per day with a peak of 33 million gallons. What we used to do with that plant is at the very end of the process, you kind of get a sludge. And you press it and you get as much water out of it, but it's still a sludge. And you put it in the back of a truck and you drive it to a landfill and it goes into it. What we now do is we dry it and pelletize it. There's two uses of that pelletized product. One is fertilizer, and the other is the ability to generate energy from it. And we have built in Stamford, while I was mayor, a mini gasification production facility. And we have proven that technology as a viable alternative for energy production. What we want to do eventually in Stamford is to build a 13 to 15 megawatt generating facility that would not only use our pelletized product, but could use the pelletized product from other locations as well. And then I would have fought a bigger fight with the feds, particularly with respect to congestion pricing, which I think was a mistake and very detrimental to our economy. And I would have put up a bigger fight, and you would have taken me kicking and screaming the whole way. And quite frankly, we had a governor who took it as a passive, in a very passive form. Oh, well, that's what we're going to have to do, and we're not going to do much about it. I'm not making any of that up. I got involved in climate protection and energy issues back in 1998 as a result of a friend of mine by the name of Al Gore asking me to go to a conference at Columbia University. And when I came back from that and went back to my city, I became devoted to this issue. So in Stamford buildings, school and municipal, we use 19% less energy in our buildings than we did in 1998. It can be done.